Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to I am your host, Tyrone Bridges. Let's get it.
Good afternoon in Ypsilanti, Michigan, 105. And we're live with my friend and filmmaker, Lisa Donmall-Reeve. Everybody welcome Lisa. And we're live on Facebook. Just wanted to give you a quick introduction, let everybody know a little bit about you. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome to I Thought You Knew with Tyrone Bridges, and I am very glad to have you. And tell us a little bit about you, my friend.
Wow, I'm obviously originally British. I now live in Los Angeles. I was in New York before that, been in the States for about 9 and a bit years. I came over with my husband in 2012. Before I was a filmmaker, I was in the musical theatre world of performing and assisting choreographers and choreographing and also teaching dance, which I sometimes still dip into because it never leaves you really. That was a big part of my life until about 5 years ago when it's literally coming up to the date where I had the kind of light bulb moment of I'd like to shift over to film and behind the scenes and producing and just started my own production company and started creating my own work.
Interesting. So what recent films have you produced?
I guess the biggest one at the moment, well, I've got two. I've got a short film and a feature documentary, both on the film festival circuit right now. Mm-hmm. The short film's called Double Exposure. It's a lovely, like, rom-com, beautiful film that we're developing into a feature. So it's kind of like a proof of concept, so people can understand that we want to go further. But that's just kind of getting we've got about 8 or 9 festivals, but of course most have been virtual. And then my feature doc is called Uprooted: The Journey of Jazz Dance. So it's looking at the whole history and journey of jazz from the enslaved people in Africa being brought over through to the modern day. And that was kind of a beast and a passion project to make, and that's doing like crazily well on the festival circuit. And yeah, we're just kind of developing the educational side of that, so then that can have its educational packages and teaching guides, because it's got a very strong educational side, and then also selling it internationally and then domestically. So yeah, it's an exciting time.
Beautiful. Can you let the viewers know a little bit about your film without like giving it away?
I guess we filmed for about a year on and off. So because obviously when you're an indie filmmaker, you don't, well, documentary wise, we didn't have all the money. So when we had a chunk of money, we would collate a certain amount of people in an area. So for instance, we had 3 weeks in New York and surrounding, like Chicago and Charlotte, and where we could travel to easily, and then we'd have to raise more money, and then I'd organize people, schedule people, say in LA, and then so that's kind of how the year went. Mm-hmm. We interviewed probably over 70 what I call my cast of experts, but there were a range of dance historians, educators, choreographers, like kind of, really well-known people, to just the dancers that are actually taking the class and the teachers that are teaching it. So we got a really broad view. We tried to be as documentarians are, you're supposed to be as neutral and unbiased as possible. So you're just trying to get all the information and then you're handing it over in a way that we wanted. I was very, I really wanted it to have that broad scope, and Kadifa Wong, the director, was awesome with her kind of vision of outside the box, not your standard dance doc, which I didn't want because I don't always enjoy them, and looking at the social and political aspects of the time of each era, and how that affected the dance, and how then that would then push it into the next era. So yeah, it was a humbling experience too, because I've danced all my life. And when they approached me, so Zach and Kadifa had the idea, they approached me to help them like make it happen. I was immediately interested because obviously I'd danced all my life. I'd never done a documentary, but I love documentaries. So I was like, yeah, this let's do it, but let's go really broad. Let's do the whole thing, which you look back, that's so naive because it's so complex that it does need hours and hours and hours. So I feel like we've done a brilliant job for a feature to make people more curious. We'd love to do an episodic to kind of dig deeper in some areas that we couldn't necessarily go further at the time. But yeah, it's been, as we interviewed more and more people and the jazz community is a real community. So you would, I had a certain reach, we all did, because we'd been performers in the West End and Broadway. And so we all kind of were like, oh, I know this person, I've worked with this person. And then that person would lead us to someone else. And so that's kind of how it grew. And it was amazing in that way. But it kind of started to reveal stuff that even I didn't know. Wow. As you know, you started to go, wow, I've been taught this. And even though I knew there was more, so I found that really humbling. And I thought, wow, you know, this is obviously needed out in the world, which is the kind of reaction that we've been having. Yeah. It's kind of a film that you can watch more than once, and teachers and educators are just constantly reaching out because they you know, they really want to show their students. And that's what we're working on. We're literally like, yeah, we're working on it. It's coming. So yeah, that's kind of, I mean, if you look it up online, there's trailers and stuff online. So
where would the viewers go and search your trailers?
Yeah, uprootedfilm.com.
Uprootedfilm.com.
Yeah, or if you go on my website, ldlcreativellc.com, has also got all the info.
Say your website again. I'm sorry.
ldlcreativellc.com.
LDL Creative.
LDR.
I'm sorry. LDR.
Right.
LDR Creative.
Creativellc.com.
Great. I'm writing that down myself because I'm interested in going through and seeing all of your work, and the viewers are definitely interested because I see a bunch of people replying on Facebook and enjoying the video. I do have a lot of people that do actually watch the video after I get done doing my interviews because they have a chance to rewind it and play it when they have time to listen. And I thought that you were a very interesting candidate to interview. Hearing from a filmmaker, I mean, you don't get a chance to hear from very many filmmakers, and that right there is an encouragement to me because I wanted to get off into video editing and doing things like that, because I do a little video editing in my studio, as you see, but I wanted to get more into it. So if a young, I would say if a young or older up and coming potential filmmaker wants to dive into that, could you give the filmmaker or potential filmmaker some advice or some tidbits or something?
Yeah, I guess I would say find your team. So because I'm a producer, so I kind of, my job is the whole thing, as how I see it, from development to the end and beyond. Yes. And when 5 years ago, when I was, I had this short film from my friend Ben Hartley. He had this idea and it was a dance on camera. So because it was dance, I felt like that was the right one to start me off. And the one person that we really need was the right director of photography, the right DP. And we found Matt Simpkins in New York because he used to be a dancer. He was a self-taught DP. And so he he shoots dance for me like no one else does. He kind of, you feel it. And I think I've worked with him on nearly every project I've done since, because we now have that relationship. He was great for me because I didn't go to film school, so I've learned on my feet. And he was a great kind of teacher. So if there were anything that, because he came from theatre, he would say, oh, it's like this, or what that means is. So I think I was very lucky to have someone like that was like a few steps ahead film wise, but then really happy to kind of then bring me along, and we've just kind of collaborated ever since. Wow. So it's getting the right people around you. I also had a great consultant, film festival consultant, who has ended up being a very good friend and mentor. She's now like so very, very involved with the documentary, as she's our associate producer, and she's been helping the educational side. Like without her, she's Kimberly Browning. She runs her own film. I mean, she does so many things. I don't know how she fits it all in, but she's been a mentor and a rock. So I think I've just been really fortunate. So that's why I always think find your team. And learn, and the more work you do, the more you learn. That's why I just, I'm dying to shoot again, because we haven't been able to because of COVID.
Right.
And that was a choice. I was like, you have to raise X amount more to cover all those COVID costs. And also, there was, when it was at the height, this was too much risk. Right. And if nothing needs to be done right then, just wait. So we've been waiting, and just it was the perfect time to develop projects, because that also takes time. Right. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest piece of advice would be find your team.
Find your team. Excellent advice. So in film production, if you don't mind me asking, what is the biggest core of the film production? Is it more animation, or is it more camera work, or is it more just a tad bit of both, or which?
Well, I mean, it can be anything. So it depends what genre you're filming, but film production is usually when you are in production. So if you're in production, you're basically either ramping up to film or filming. So that's kind of that phase. There's pre-pro, where you're raising the money, you're getting everything ready, you're doing the casting, the locations, and then you go into production, and then the post is everything beyond, which is where the magic sometimes really happens, because the editor, I always think, is the magician. They can make or break what they do with the footage, alongside the director, obviously, and you have to have good footage. It's that you have to have good content to be able to create stuff, but sometimes editors can create amazing things out of nothing, which I just, and I'm not an editor. I just think editors, when you find a good editor, it's a gift.
It's probably fascinating watching them create too.
Yeah,
that's
very wonderful. Different. Yeah, and you got post supervised production. I learned so much from the documentary. I've learned so much over the last 5 years that I think each project has helped me go to the next thing without really realizing that I've learned stuff. You then look back and go, wow, I didn't know how to get film licenses, and then my first film needed music licenses. And so I was like, how do I do that? And so I was like, well, this is where you learn. Wow. So it's been constantly out of my comfort zone, but I think I was craving that in a way, and because it was a new platform, a new kind of arena, because I've been in theatre for so long, I was so excited by it that I think I was more open to make mistakes or to ask questions. When I'd been in theatre for so long, you kind of feel like you've got to a stage where you probably can't show weakness or vulnerability or make mistakes, because people will then judge you more quicker. That's how I felt anyway.
Great. Well, another large question. Have you ever been to Michigan?
I think I have. I think I have to take some auditions with Jeffrey Valley School.
All righty. Yeah, there's a lot of talent here in Michigan too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Well, anytime you're in the area in Michigan and want to shoot some film, and you need some trailer hands or you need some audio guy,
we'll get in touch with you for sure.
Yes, definitely.
You're my man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I would love it. I would just the fact of creating something from just a thought is awesome. I mean, just
yeah.
And what you're doing right now in the filming is just, I mean, it's amazing when you're bringing the dance in and expressing something through the movie. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
any
it's
other
a genre that I guess people, and I think because people, cameras in classes, dance classes are more common than they ever used to be. You know, I didn't grow up in that world. We didn't have cell phones. I certainly wasn't allowed to film class. You know, it was a different world, whereas there's definitely more, the upcoming generation do that more readily, which has good and bad connotations. I think, you know, you should be able to go into class and it's a safe space to just be and make mistakes and not feel like you're constantly being filmed and having to be, you know, perfect, or that you're supposed to be learning. So to be filmed while doing that, sometimes people don't want that. And I think the younger generation, sometimes I think that pressure doesn't allow you to make the mistakes that will actually ultimately make you grow. So really different world now. Yeah, but dance on camera, I think, is grown so much over the years.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely. And for the young girls in that's viewing this video, is there any type of advice that you could give to the young girls that's interested in the filmmaking or interested in maybe even possible being a cast on a film? Could you give them some type of advice or something that
there's a lot of groups that you can either, like networks, like female filmmakers networks, that you can join either through Facebook, or if you Google them, there are either alliances or networks that are women in particular, and like Femme Fatales, and women in film. So there's definitely there's like organizations that kind of help and do courses and one-offs that you can just like log into, and so that's a really good way to kind of get into the community too.
Right. And that film, that producing, filmmaking, there's like a community of family, basically.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So what has been your most difficult time? Well, everybody know coronavirus and COVID-19 has been ruined for everybody. But besides COVID-19 and coronavirus, what has been the most challenging time for you as a filmmaker in the industry? What were some of the obstacles that you had to go through?
The most challenging always is raising the money. Even when you know your project is worthy and needs to be made, you're still asking other people to invest in that idea. So it's, what I really appreciate is the time that you need to invest in building those relationships with your investors or financiers, or and that takes time. And you kind of, at the beginning, I was just like, why isn't there like a book of people that just love investing? But you know, that would be too easy. So you have to take the time. I remember this one producer in LA said to me, I have most of my time is going to lunch and cultivating those relationships. And that makes sense. And you can't rush that. And that's been probably the biggest lesson and the most challenging. And that even 5 years on, I have a bigger network, but it still needs to grow. But I'm more aware of how to make that happen. Coming out of COVID will help, because one of the things I love about film festivals is that you go and then you can network and you can talk and you can meet people that you wouldn't have met and you don't meet virtually. So So that I'm looking forward to getting back to, because that on my side of things really helps. I do think the film festivals have done an amazing job pivoting the last year and going virtually, because there's the flip side that more people have had eyes on your film. So it reaches a bigger audience, which is great. And you've got less costs because you don't have to travel. But then I enjoy traveling, so it's kind of I can't wait just to get to a live festival.
Great. So if you could make an appeal to some of the viewers or any of the listeners to support you in your film production, how would they go about that? Supporting you in your film production. Is there a way to either send you money? Somebody might have a loose $100, maybe $1,000 laying around that they could put into good use, because a lot of people do need to support our women filmmakers in the industry, because it's not enough. I know it's not enough. And what would you say to viewers and listeners? I mean,
obviously, if there's anyone out there that's interested in investing anything in film and interested in the kind of work that I do, I would say go to my website. You can contact me through my website. And then also each film that I'm working on has then its own website that you can then go onto to explore it more, or just contact me directly. Because there's a contact form that comes straight to me anyway, and I always respond to everyone. I'm very good like that.
Great. Should they contact you through the email? I mean, through the websites, or is there an email address that they can get to you?
No, if you do it through my website, the LDR Creative website, then it will come straight to me anyway.
Gotcha. Great. Wonderful. Because I'm pretty sure, I know I got my phone is blowing up. I know people are asking me questions, and because I've never interviewed a filmmaker, and I would say this was a treat to me and a blessing to me at the same time, by even being introduced to you by my brother George. And I was fascinated when I heard that you did your own film and it's out, and I'm like, wait, hold it, we need to get her on. This is exclusive. We got to bring her on, and we got to give her some exposure, because there's not, there aren't a lot of women filmmakers as far as I know of. You always hear certain male names, and I'm like, okay, all right.
Well, yeah, I guess bigger, like the more infamous, the bigger ones for sure. I am part of the filmmakers, a group that's like a female filmmakers group.
Gotcha.
That's run by, now she's a very good friend, and she's the one that started it, and she's kind of got the New York, and then she's moved to LA. So what's been lovely about the pandemic is that we have monthly Zooms. So New York and LA kind of meet. And so we're now an even bigger community. Whereas before it used to be once a month at someone's house in the city you were in, so either New York or LA. So it's kind of nice that it's opened up.
Yeah.
And then I've met some amazing, awesome women that are doing some brilliant things within the film community. So I think there's always more out there that's very supportive. That group's very supportive, as we need to be. We have a slight, more of a challenge. So although, to be fair, I work with men and women. I've always feel like I've been treated very fairly.
Great.
So
I'm
quite small right now, so
great. Will you let the group know that any of them is free to come on our platform? We want to give them a voice on our YouTube channel, our Facebook. We really we're interested. We want to turn the page of things that are negative in the news, and we want to bring some stuff positive across to people. I want to do more interviews that I don't have to use bad words and great words. I prefer using great words and talking to great people like yourself. And I really thank you for coming on.
Of course.
I really thank you for scheduling this. And
thank you for inviting me. I hope I've helped. And honestly, if anyone has any questions, just reach out via the website, and I will do anything I can.
Great, great. And what we'll do, we actually reproduce this video and we'll put all the information on there with your website, and also give people the direct links so they can click on it.
Great.
Thank you once again, Lisa, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Tyrone.
And, I appreciate you, and we'll be hearing from you soon.
Great. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.